Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel about cross stitching. My name is Rosanna and I go by Bright and Dusty here on YouTube and on Instagram. It is Friday, July 19th, although it might take me a couple days to actually upload this, but as of taping it, it is the 19th. And thank you for stopping by my channel. If you watched my my last video was my mid-year whip parade, thank you so much. That video got a lot of views in comparison to some of my other ones, so I just really appreciate everyone who took the time to watch that and see all my projects. So today, let's see, I have a finish and it is Christmas themed, so I'm just gonna do a little like Christmas in July segment here at the beginning. And then I'll get into just more traditional project updates on some of my whips that I worked on in the last month. Other than that, it's gonna be pretty standard Flosstube video. So this is my 10th video, which is exciting. And yeah, I'm all ready for Christmas in July. Put my tree on. It's really sparkly. And I guess I'm just gonna dive right into it. And so my finish. I had spoken about this a little bit in my whip parade. It is called Noel en Or, Christmas in Gold by Madame Lafay. This is what the whole, if you do the whole thing, this is what the whole thing looks like. But I decided to stop with the Nutcracker. So let me show you what I got on it. Or not what I got on it, because I actually did finish the Nutcracker. So he turned out splendidly. This is a very challenging pattern. Madame Lafay, the patterns are beautiful, but there's a lot of confetti in them. And because this is a paper pattern, I wasn't able to use it with Pattern Keeper. And I think I've discovered that like when it comes to confetti stitching, I'm just more comfortable doing it if I'm able to use Pattern Keeper. So this was a little bit of a struggle to tackle this project, which is why, one of the reasons why I decided to finish him just the Nutcracker by himself. So I stitched this on 18 count Opalescent Ada by Zweigart. And I did use two strands on 18 count Ada, which was tough. It was my first time ever doing that, and the fabric is really stiff. The opalescence, I think, makes it a little more stiff than normal. So doing two strands with this guy, it was a challenge, and I was working on it a lot this month, and I would be sitting there working on it, and I'm like, you know, this is going okay. Maybe I should just do the whole thing. Maybe I shouldn't give up. But it was just difficult enough that I decided I did not want to continue with it, and I'm really happy with how the Nutcracker turned out on his own. So my next step is going to be figuring out how to fully finish him. My inclination is to put him in a frame. I know that some people in the comments last time were suggesting do a stand-up. So he could be like a little piece of holiday decor, sort of like a pillow. but he would stand up. And that's actually a really good idea, but I'm still mulling it over. I do think he would look really cool in just a very ornate frame, like maybe with like a gold edge or something. But yeah, he looks so opulent. The colors on this are just amazing. Okay, so that was my Christmas in July finish. And yeah, I'm gonna hold on to the pattern, and then maybe some years down the road, maybe I would want to do the whole thing on a different fabric. That's a possibility, just because I think it's beautiful. I know, like looking at this Nutcracker, I know the whole thing would just be amazing, stitched in its entirety. I'm certainly not going to do that like anytime soon, but you never know what the future will hold. And that was actually my only Christmas in July stitching. I had all these big plans. I was gonna work on like 3 Christmas projects. That did not end up happening. The Nutcracker did take me long enough. That kind of like satisfied my hankering for Christmas stitching for the time being. However, I do have a couple of other Christmas things to show for fun. I guess the first one, well, I made this project bag, which I think turned out awesome. This is one of my favorite project bags now. And the back is these Christmas cupcakes. And basically, this is a quilt block that I had found at an antique mall several months ago, along with a bunch of other ones. I found like, I don't know, 10 or 11 quilt blocks. And you can see the person who made it had actually signed it down here. And yeah, it says 2003. So it's this Santa, and then the person finished it with this holly border. And it's so beautiful. So I went ahead and just made it into a project bag, and it turned out really nice. I love this one. And then I have 2 other Christmas things to show. I didn't stitch these. I'm thinking of maybe turning these into bags as well, but since it was on theme for Christmas in July, I thought I would just show them for the heck of it. So here's one. So this is a cross stitch I found thrifting, and it wasn't framed or anything. I just found it loose like this, but it is complete, and it's full coverage. It's actually very nice. They stitched it on Aida. Looks like a 16, no, looks like a 14 count Aida. And I was able to determine on Google that the name of this pattern is Christmas Eve. And I saw somewhere that I think it was from 1993, but that's all I really know about it. It was like a leaflet, I think. And it's really cute. And it definitely does have that kind of like 90s vibe to it. So I'm thinking of maybe turning this into a project bag, sort of like I did with the Santa quilt block, because I think it will look really nice. And someone worked really hard on this. So that was that one. And then along with, I think these must have been stitched by the same people, because I found them at the same time. So here's the other one. I think this is gorgeous. This is exactly my style. It's so pretty. Yeah, it was stitched on some kind of, I guess this is a placemat. I don't know. It looks like it was manufactured as a placemat for cross stitching or something. I'm not totally sure. It has this like fringed edge. It's really soft too, but it's an Aida. And I was able to figure out that this is called Bringing Home the Tree, and the company is called Homeward Bound. So this is another vintage pattern. I'm sure if you search that, you'd be able to find it if you want to stitch this. But yeah, it's really nice. It has like a little bit of, you can see like the sparkly thread. And that little house there, that's so cool. It almost looks like, you know, it's a pencil sketch style or something. It's neat. And then this guy. So this, I don't know, this might be a little bit big for a project bag. I also think this would make a really cool pillow, like a large pillow. So, I don't know. I'll figure out something to do with it, but it's really pretty. All right, and now since we're still on the subject of Christmas in July, the other thing I'm going to show, I was actually going to wait to the end, but I may as well just do it now because it's Christmas. Because in my videos I usually show like a bigger finished cross stitch that I found thrifting. So I'm going to do that now. And this one is called Angel of Freedom by Lavender and Lace. I found this, I want to say, at this point it was probably about 2 years ago. And the reason I know that is because this is the one that actually inspired me to start stitching myself. So let me show it to you. So there she is. She's large. And yeah, these lavender lace patterns take forever to stitch. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I know there's a lot of like huge patterns out there that take a lot longer, but these are pretty big. And I found this thrifting, and I don't know, I was just so struck by it. And I do remember I got home and I did a Google image search and I figured out what it was. Lavender and lace. I had never heard of lavender and lace before. I mean, I had never cross-stitched before in my life, so discovering that designer was brand new to me. And it was around this time I had also found several other large cross stitches, which I'm sure, eventually I will show those down the road in other videos. But it was this one that caused me to become really interested in trying to do a lavender and lace pattern myself. Excuse me. So so this one inspired me to do my first cross stitch, which I'll show really briefly. So this is the Celtic Christmas. And this was my first ever cross stitch finish. And I was specifically inspired by finding that angel, because once I discovered lavender lace is when I saw this. And I specifically saw someone who had done it on black, and that's why I wanted to do it on black. And yeah, I changed her hair to red. So that was just a cute little story about how I first got into cross stitching, which is because I had found some finished cross stitches out in my thrifting excursions. So you just never know. You never know what's going to happen. I know, like, a lot of cross stitches end up in secondhand stores and antique stores and stuff like that. But you never know. It might, you know, be the inspiration for somebody to give it a try themselves. And with me, I mean, it's just now it's turned into kind of an obsession, at least for now. And yeah. So that's my little story about that Christmas stitch that I found. And I think that concludes everything I was going to talk about as far as Christmas in July is concerned. Yeah, and now I'll probably not do any more Christmas stitching until, you know, the Christmas season. But I'm okay with that. All right, so why don't I get into some progress updates. So one thing I wanted to talk about is I'm always interested in trying to learn new techniques. So this month I decided to learn how to do stitching in hand using the sewing method. And that's not something I'd ever tried before. I had never stitched in hand at all, period. I mean, I always use Q-snaps or an embroidery hoop, and I do a lot of two-handed stitching with an embroidery hoop that has a stand, but I never tried to do stitching in hand. And I had heard that if you stitch in hand using the sewing method that it is fast. So I was curious about what that would be like. And okay, so I mean, the way I did it was I watched a bunch of videos showing how to do it. I mean, I watched maybe like 4 or 5, something like that. And I know there's a lot more out there. And I will just say that as far as stitching techniques go, this has been the trickiest. For me, learning the two-handed stitching, like, that wasn't really hard to me. That seemed very intuitive, and I picked it up very fast. With the stitching in hand using the sewing method, that required some trial and error. And what I also discovered is that it's like a really hard thing to explain. It's a really hard thing to film. Because I was watching some of these videos and then I would come away from them like even like a little bit more confused. So the video that I found the most helpful personally out of the ones that I watched was, I believe it was by the channel Catkin and Lillie. And I will link it in the description box in case you're curious. This is the one where I watched it and it finally sort of clicked for me. And I thought, like, visually the video was really good at just like having everything in the frame and you could see what was going on and it was like close enough. So that was helpful for me. So that is just like a long little introduction to say that a lot of the stuff I have progress updates about are ones where I was doing stitching in hand using the sewing method. What else was I gonna say? Just like totally slipped my mind. And as far as like, well, first I practiced on just like some scrap Aida. And you know, you definitely have to do that because it's tricky enough that you don't want to just like risk messing up one of your projects when you're not comfortable with the technique. So I did practice on some scrap Aida for a little bit. And then I was like, well, I don't want to just waste time stitching like nothing, you know, nothing that's gonna like contribute to my projects. So then I switched over and I started actually trying it on my real projects. And it has been a learning curve. I definitely made some mistakes. Like I said, it's pretty tricky. However, that being said, I do feel like I am comfortable with it now. I still think that I personally prefer the two-handed stitching. And as far as like how fast those two techniques are in comparison to each other, my suspicion is that they're about the same. Maybe when I get a little bit better at the stitching in hand, maybe I'll like do a little comparison experiment to see if I can actually figure out like roughly, you know, if it is faster. I don't think it's very comfortable because like I'm right-handed, which means my left hand is like, I don't know, really tense because you have to hold the fabric and you kind of have to manipulate the fabric and move it around so you can get like your needle through the right hole, which means that your hand is just like, at least for me, is like really tense. And I'm sure once you get better at it, that might ease up a little bit. But yeah, I'm not gonna give up on the sewing method. And I do think one thing that's nice about it is that obviously you don't need a hoop or a frame. You don't need any of that, which means I think it will be really good for traveling. You know, if I ever were to go to a retreat, I think it would be good for like retreat stitching because you wouldn't have to have like all of this equipment. But for just stitching at home, like in the comfort of my own home, I still kind of prefer the two-handed method. Okay, I will stop rambling about that and show you my projects. So let's see. So one of the ones, the one I kind of started on trying out stitching in hand was State Fair. So I did make some progress on this one. And this is from the, let me see. This is like August 2023 issue of World of Cross Stitching. I've showed this a bunch of times, but it's from this magazine. And it looks like this. And here is where I am now. So the new stuff is this. These quilts were not here before. This is the part where I was experimenting with stitching in hand using the sewing method. And I decided to do that because this stuff, I mean, it was like so square and, you know, in a straight line, and that kind of made sense for trying out that technique. And actually, I think it looks pretty good. You know, there's nothing, I know I did make a couple of errors in terms of, I made my crosses like in the wrong direction a couple times because for some reason it is like really easy to do that with the sewing method, where I just kind of mix up the direction. So I did do that a couple, like 2 or 3 times, but nothing major. So yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. And yeah, the colors on this are so pretty and bright. It's just like a wonderful pattern to work on in the summer for sure. All right, so that was State Fair. The other one, well, there's like, I don't know, 2 or 3 other ones. I tried out this technique. One of them is Spring House. This is a pattern from Etsy, Cute Patterns by Maria on Etsy. And I've really been enjoying this, and I have made a decent amount of progress on it. On Pattern Keeper, it says I'm up to 25%. So that's really great. Sorry, I didn't iron these, but you can still get a good sense of it. So once again, all of this stitching, so much of it was just like going up in a big column, going down in a big column, going, you know, when you're right-handed, it's easier to stitch with the sewing method, going right to left. So I would just pick areas where I could do that and practiced. The one thing I will say is that I don't think the stitches lie quite as nicely as when I'm stitching it in a hoop. Like it's nothing like terrible. Like I think this looks fine, but it's not quite as perfect as it sometimes can look in a hoop. And I think that's just because you're constantly having to be like squeezing the fabric, manipulating the fabric. So the stitches, I don't know, they're just not quite as streamlined or something like that. But I also think that that is the sort of thing that would improve upon practice. Yeah, so Pattern Keeper says I'm at 25%, but like, this is just a lousy black and white printout, but I was thinking of maybe not doing the trees because I don't really know if the trees are necessary. I think like the house would look really nice without them. So I might just leave the trees out. I haven't decided yet. Okay, so that was Spring House. And then here's another spring one that I made progress on. It's called Spring Chickens by Stacy Nash. And oh yeah, this is 36 count Lagoon by Fiber on a Whim. And I'm stitching 2/2. And now I can't find the spring chickens. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Yes, I had forgotten 4 or 5 of my project bags in the other room. That's why I couldn't find the spring chickens, but now they are here. So, spring chickens, Stacy Nash. So, I actually used stitching in hand with the sewing method on most of this chicken. And once again, I think it looks pretty good. This is 40 count Ancient by Picture This Plus, and I'm using 1 strand over 2 threads. And I love the way this is looking. I love stitching it. I really like this fabric, and I think it looks great. And this pattern isn't huge, so I'm hoping maybe I would have this one done by end of the summer. That would be nice. And then Another one where I use this technique was actually a new start, because I decided to join Hello from Liz Mathews Patreon because, like so many other people, you know, I saw her new pattern for June. It was Seaside. I don't think it's available anymore. At this point, I think I have to wait like a year until the general release. But when I saw it, I decided to join the Patreon because this pattern was like, wow, so beautiful. And I don't know, I've been working a lot in Deadly Aquarium, and I don't know if it's just like sea creatures or kind of like, oh, I want to stitch more sea creatures or something. But long story short, I did join it, and I started the bottom half with the sea creatures. So here is what I've got on it. So this fish was done using the sewing method as well, and I think it looks pretty good. This fabric, this is what's going to be the top half. So this was like a fat quarter of, it's called Graceful Gray by Wishelt. So this is what it looks like when it comes in the package. Graceful Gray. And then I just dyed the other half of it blue to use it for the bottom half. And this is a 32 count, and I'm using 2 strands. The Wishelt fabric is a little bit stiff. I mean, it's fine. For me, it's fine to work on. I think it's a little bit more awkward for the sewing method, just because the stiffness makes it a little bit more hard to manipulate. So I might switch. I'm probably going to switch back to the two-handed stitching for this pattern. So that was my small start on Seaside, which is really cool. And I'll just show you, this is the bag that I am keeping it in, because it's kind of cool. It's got like all these scissors and stuff. And I really messed this bag up. I had to fix it. I have made like, I don't know, 25 bags at this point, and for some reason I screwed this one up, and I had to like spend an hour fixing it. But it's fine now, and I hope it holds up. But basically I just had to add a bunch of fabric up here because the seams were messed up. But it looks pretty good. And yes, I am so bad. I want to put these on rings, and I just never get around to it. So they're just all scattered. But that's okay. I mean, I'm as organized as I can be, which isn't saying much sometimes, but at least they all have their own bags. All right, so that was Seaside. And I think that might be the last of the ones that I had tried this new technique on. So yeah, in my opinion, the stitches look pretty good. And I think you would have to be looking really, really close to see a difference. So anyway, that was some of my insights into stitching in hand with the sewing method. And now I just have like a few other regular whips. This one, oh wait, I lied. I also did sewing method on this last night. So this is the And Stripes by Shakespeare's Peddler. It's looking really nice. This is one I would really like to see this finished sometime in August. I'm getting pretty close. Yeah, so I used the sewing method last night down here. Looks pretty good. And it was challenging on this because this is a linen napkin that I dye myself, and the count of it is pretty tiny. I don't know exactly what it is. It's probably about a 40, maybe even a little bit higher count than that. I'm not totally sure. But anyway, that made the sewing method a little bit more difficult, especially since I don't have enough practice with it to do that method on these high counts. But it went okay. I don't think I'm going to continue doing the sewing method on this particular piece. But I really love how this is looking. Really pretty. Okay, I did make some progress on Lila Studio Summer Quaker, which was kind of shocking to me. I haven't touched this in a long time. I think it was maybe February when the last time I stitched on it. But the past few days I've worked on it. And this is actually really fun to work on, especially now that I'm getting into the pictorial area here with the ship and everything. I think I am responding a little bit better to that, or I'm like more excited about it than all the shapes. So I'm gonna keep on chipping away at this. I think the reason I pulled this out is I was watching somebody on Flosstube and they showed their finish. And I'm sorry, I forget who it was now. It was within the past few days. And wow, it looked amazing. So I was really inspired to get mine out. This is 36 count platinum by Zweigart. And I'm doing 2/2 on this. And the colors are looking really nice. Yeah, I forget what percentage I'm at on Pattern Keeper. It's not very high. It's I got a long ways to go on that. It's a really big pattern. And then we've got the Deadly Aquarium. I'm almost caught up. I'm missing a little bit of backstitch, but man, every week this just gets better, you know? I am so excited to see this when it's done. It is going to be amazing. I have had so much fun with this. I look forward to it. Like every week I'm like, oh, Deadly Aquarium, oh, it's coming out. And there's a new installment today when I'm taping on Friday. So there's a new installment today. Hopefully I'll be able to knock that out over the weekend. And oh my gosh, I love this squid. I didn't backstitch him yet, but that squid is so cute. I love him. I think that might be my favorite part so far, is that little squid. Okay, so this is a 32 count linen that I dyed myself, and I'm doing 2/2. All right, I did have 2 new starts. I'll just talk about them briefly because I don't have much done on them at all. So I don't know what possessed me to do this. This is a huge pattern. It is Praiseworthy Stitches Seedy Pumpkin Cottage. I mean, it is gigantic. there's a lot of different haunted houses by this company. They are all so cool. I picked this one, but it was really hard to pick. So I got a very small start, and I didn't take it out of the hoop because you can see everything I did. I just got started a little bit on the door. This fabric is called Monster Mash. This is a 36 count by Picture This Plus, and I'm doing one strand on this one, so 1/2. Yeah, what else was I gonna say about this? So in the photo here, to me this house looked like it was mustard yellow, but it's not. The pattern calls for like a very vibrant green. I think it might have been this green, or maybe this green. I forget which one. It's one of these. It's like in your face green, like Halloween green, which makes sense. I mean, it's a haunted house. But when I had like purchased this, I was thinking, oh, it's mustard yellow, and I think that, like, I thought that was really cool. Like, it made it look so like fall to me. So I have decided that I am going to change the color of the house to be more of a mustard yellow. And yeah, I'm either going to be using like 3821 or 3852. I'm leaning more towards 3852. Because I think that's going to look really neat, and I think it's going to pop a lot better on the Monster Mash fabric than if I were doing one of those greens. So those are my plans with Praiseworthy Stitches Seedy Pumpkin Cottage. This pattern is a little nuts. It took me a really long time. I'm not sure what the copyright on this is 2015. And it was weird because they gave you like all of the specialty threads. Because it's charted in all these specialty threads. I'm like, I'm not buying that many specialty threads, like forget it. That would just be so expensive. So I was like, I'm doing DMC. And I think, yeah, I think they give you a DMC list. Yeah, they give you a DMC list, but they don't actually match it to the symbol. They match it to the overdyed. So you have to go through a whole extra step of putting the DMCs next to your symbol. So that's what I did. I printed this and I just wrote in all of the DMC numbers. So this pattern just took me like a lot of legwork. It was fine. Like I'm fine with it, but it was just like an extra step. And as you can see, it's like a lot of floss. And I made this bag. You can see there's pumpkins on the inside. I really like this floral pumpkin pattern. It's cool. And then just wait till you see the back. I could not believe this fabric. I found it at Joann's. It is hilarious. Oh my gosh, I love it. It's really cute. Okay, so that was my start on Seedy Pumpkin Cottage. Like I said, that is a gigantic pattern, and I already have like Halloween of Hawk Run Hollow kitted up. And I don't even know what I am thinking with this. Like, I'm probably just gonna have to pick one because it's madness to like try to have them both going at once. At least for me, they're so large. But I just saw all of the Praiseworthy Stitches haunted houses and I just got too excited. And I would really like to get a chunk of that done in the fall. We'll see what happens. All right, sampler of Olga by Reflets de Soie. I showed this as part of my haul. I think it might have been my last video, but I have now started it. And I have it in this really cute Dalmatian bag that I made. It's really cute because it's like, it's sort of Christmassy, but not really. It could work for anything. And I just love these Dalmatians. The reason there's no floss in here, see, I'm just keeping the actual like stitch in there. The reason there is no floss is because I'm using sulky threads for this. I picked my own kind of roughly based on like what the called for was. So I've decided to use these 3 sulky threads. So one is like really bright, then there's a little bit more like a brownish red, and then a dusky pink. And I don't have much done, and this is a gigantic pattern, but it's just kind of cool to work on like a red work thing. I've never done that before. I do have to frog a tiny bit out here because I started off with a different red and then I decided to switch this one. So I have to frog maybe like 15 stitches up here. That'll be fine. But this is an accurate depiction of what the colors will be. There's that. The rose is correct as well. So this is a 40 count. It's called Winter Moon. Another Zweigart. And as you can see, it's a very cool neutral. Cool as in like color tone, like a very, very subtle gray cast to it, but yeah, I got it because I wanted to like sort of compare what it would look like with like the platinum. But I think this is looking really nice with the red. I don't regret getting this linen. So yeah, with the sulkies, you can use 1 strand on 40 and the coverage is really nice. I think it looks really beautiful. So that was that. And just as a part of my haul, I'll just quickly show you, like, you can get like a variety pack, sulky threads, like specifically for red, like red work. And I think they might do this for some other colors too, just like a little variety pack. So that was kind of neat. Yeah, I can put the color numbers down in the description box in case anyone's curious. It's 1147, 1181, and 1304 are the ones that I'm using. And one of them did not come in the variety pack. One of them was like a separate one that I bought. All right, so that was my second new start, and here is my last new start. I'm really excited about this. This is called Tarot. Well, actually, I don't know what it's called. I think it's called Tarot by the Witchy Stitcher. And basically what's happening is the Witchy Stitcher is releasing tarot card cross stitches, like 2 cards like every month or every 2 months. And they're inspired by Lisa Frank, I think. So the colors are just like, whoa. And she's doing it through her Patreon. However, some of the earliest cards have now been put on her website. And I'm just starting off by, I got the unicorn because I know I absolutely want to do the unicorn. And then I'm going to pick 3 other ones. So let me show you what I have. I think this looks awesome. These colors are amazing. I am stitching this on a 28 count even weave, but I am using 2/1 tent stitch, which is why I was able to do this pretty quickly. Yeah, I was watching Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World, her Whip Parade. She has a couple of these cards done, and she's also doing the frame. And she did, like, I think she also did over 1 on a 28 count even weave. And so that's where I saw, like, how it looks when the cards are, like, small. And I thought that was so cute. And I just decided to basically copy that idea. And this is an even weave that I just dyed myself. This it's a 28 count that I found it at Michael's, you know, for a few bucks. And then I just dyed it. And it looks pretty good. I just wanted it to be, you know, dark. And yeah, so what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna do the entire thing because the Witchy Stitcher, I think the idea is she is like charting an entire deck. So there's gonna be like a lot of cards. I'm not gonna do all of them. I think I'm only gonna do 4, I think, because that's what I figured out like is gonna work with this fabric. So now I have to like work on doing the frame so that I can get started on the cards. And I will be starting with the unicorn, which is Death, the Death tarot card. And the only other thing I was gonna show regarding this pattern was this. So this isn't what was called for. Basically, I was taking a look at the unicorn pattern for Death, the Death card. And I was looking at the perimeter of the card has a rainbow border, but basically you're switching colors like every 4 stitches. So I was just thinking I might just try to do the border of the cards with this rainbow thread instead. And I know it's gonna look different. I mean, obviously it's not gonna look like the way she charted it, but I think it will still look cool. So that is my thought right now. You know, I haven't made it that far yet, so if I give it a try and I don't like it, I'll just do it as charted. But this rainbow thread is it is by Threadworks, and it's available from a lot of distributors. I just got it from 123 Stitch, and the number of it is 1154. But it's so vibrant. This was the most vibrant rainbow thread I could find. All right, so that is the end of all of my whips and my starts. I don't really have much haul. Oh, one thing I wanted to just like show is this spool. I found it at an antique mall, and it didn't look like this. It was just basically raw wood, like beige. So I stained it, and then I used to make resin jewelry. I have like a bunch of leftover resin. So I just ended up sealing it with like a resin layer. That's why it's so shiny. And I was thinking of maybe doing like a really, really tiny cross stitch just to put around, because I've seen some people doing that, and it's really cute. and then you can just turn it into like an ornament or something. But this is like an older, just from a spool of thread. It actually had a lot of thread on it. I had to take all the thread off. So anyway, it was just cute. The other thing I found at the same antique mall was this. And actually, if I do it on a 40 count, I think a tiny town would fit on here. So I'm thinking about maybe doing the frosty tiny town and then putting it around this cool little wooden box. So I think that'd be really neat. So those are just two ideas I have. I could also do the Stacy Nash mouse and just have it like resting up here. Because I think that's the way it was shown, like in the design photo. I love that mouse. I think the mouse's name is Bobbin. I don't have that pattern yet, but I need to get it. I need to get it. And then my only other haul, I did get the brown bat from Cottage Garden Samplings. Yeah, I'm gearing up for fall stitching. I feel like I'm probably going to transition into fall stitching pretty soon. So this is one I might start. And I went up to Hobby House Needleworks shop. This is the first time I've been there since they changed locations. That Needleworks shop is about, I don't know, 45 minutes from me. It's in Pittsford, New York. It's a really great L&S. So I stopped by. It was really neat. I think they moved into that new location fairly recently, so I think they're still, you know, getting it all set up and all that stuff. But I did pick up a historical sampler called Florence married Dickinson. I've seen a bunch of people finishing this. I love it. I'm considering maybe trying to do this one in silk. I'm not going to start it anytime soon, but it's really nice. The finishes I've seen on Flosstube are just amazing. And I know a lot of people have seen this Summer Swan. I picked this one up at Hobby House. And it's so cute. Oh, that's by Brenda Gervais. I mean, I know it says it right there, but Brenda Gervais. And this one is Hands Across the Sea. Hands Across the Sea, but it's exclusive to Hobby House Needleworks. I think that's the only place you can actually get this. I mean, they do have an online shop too, but. All right, I do believe that concludes everything I needed to show you for today. Yeah, the Hobby House, if you ever get a chance, do stop by the Hobby House Needleworks shop in Pittsford, New York. For one thing, they do have a lot of models on the wall. Like, for instance, they had a model of this on the wall, which is kind of what inspired me to buy this, because the model is gorgeous. I also saw Lila's studio has some pattern. It's like a patriotic pattern. It's huge. I forget what it's called. It has like one of those, like, I don't know if it's Boston or Philadelphia, something like that. Like a building. Man, I should have looked up what the title is. I could put it in the description box. But they had a model of that on the wall. And wow, that thing was really impressive. I don't think I'm gonna stitch it just because it's like huge, and I'm not like super into patriotic stitching, but for anyone who is, it's like worth checking out because in person it looked amazing. So yeah, I guess that is about all I have to share today. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you enjoyed seeing some of my progress and hearing my lengthy discussion about stitching in hand with the sewing method. And I will catch you next time. Bye.